The Supreme Court ruled to overturn Roe v. Wade this year, the 1973 decision to protect a woman's right to an abortion. Some celebrated, while others protested. In the new documentary Battleground, director Cynthia Lowen follows three well-known anti-abortion rights activists leading up to that 2022 decision. The documentary tackles common misconceptions that people may have about the pro-life movement and its leaders. Take a look.
It really is about the tyranny of the minority. The antis have weaponized the rules of the game.
There are a lot of people who want to choose life, including us college students that are female.
Being an atheist, liberal, pro-lifer is a weird life.
We have promiscuous sex, and we don't think you should be able to have an abortion.
Cynthia joins us now. Cynthia, thanks so much for taking the time. Just from that clip alone, you can tell that no voting bloc is a monolith. So it's interesting to see what you found out, but let's start by, what was your idea? Why did you do this documentary? And, you know, you were right in the thick of it, right up until the decision.
Thank you so much for that question. In the summer of 2019, there were several states that were passing total abortion bans, even though Roe at that time still stood, and those bans were totally unconstitutional. And I was really curious initially, what is it that these bans are doing to people on the ground? What is the impact? So I went to Alabama, where I started the film, and I quickly felt like, although I had started filming with pro-choice activists, I really needed to get inside the anti-abortion movement to understand how it was possible that even though 7 in 10 Americans support access to abortion, they were being so successful in advancing their agenda.
I mean, for some in this country, it's been 50 years in the making. Some people have been working on this for 50 years. And I think a lot of, when you're talking about misconceptions, I think a lot of people think religion is the foundation of anybody who is anti-abortion. But that's not the case. You talk to some young people who are neither religious nor conservative. So that must have been interesting. Did you have any preconceived notions going in?
I think, had a lot of those preconceived notions about who anti-abortion people are. I think the stereotype is, quote, old white men or purely religiously driven people. But what I discovered really surprised me, in that there are a lot of women who are leading the anti-abortion movement, and the anti-abortion movement is very set on cultivating young people and single-issue young people, because I think that they are aware that they represent a minority of Americans. And so if they don't grow their base and appeal to non-religious people, to young people, and cultivate those single-issue voters, they may not continue to have the kind of success and inroads that they've had legislatively.
One of the women you speak with is a self-proclaimed feminist and atheist. Can you explain how she is trying to modernize the movement?
Teresa Bukanovic, I think, is a very different face of the anti-abortion movement than many people expect. Right. And I think that, again, she represents what the movement is trying to do in terms of appealing to young people as single-issue voters, to pull it out of the necessarily religious background, but to say, oh, you know, this is a social justice movement. I disagree with that. I do not think fighting for something that deprives other people of their rights and other people of the opportunity to make healthcare decisions for themselves that are in their own best interests. But for those people, that is how they would describe themselves, as, you know, feminists or as social justice people.
There are some recorded conversations between evangelical leaders and former President Trump in here. So I want to get into the conversations, but you really can't have a discussion about this decision being overturned without talking about President Trump, who was so integral in the, you know, the justices alone and his push for it. What were these conversations like?
So I was able to access a meeting, an audio tape of a meeting between Donald Trump and leaders of the Christian right that took place about a month before the 2016 election. And in that dialogue, you really hear this deal being made, which is that if Donald Trump will advance the agenda and the priorities of the Christian right will rally their base to get out and vote for him. I think we saw unfold, particularly with the 3 anti-choice Supreme Court justices, which were very much at the absolute top of the list of what the Christian right wanted him to do while he was in office.
Yeah, a promise kept.
Yeah.
Next Tuesday will be our first midterm elections since the huge decision. How do you think it affects the way people will vote? Now, some people are one-issue voters, as you point out. Some people are not. You know, the economy, inflation, gas prices, all of those things are really important to Americans, and so is abortion to many Americans. How do you think people are going to vote? Do you think it's going to weigh heavily on how they vote?
Honestly, I think that the left and I think pro-choice people and Democrats have largely been asleep on the issue of abortion. I think that there was a sense that Roe would never be overturned, that it just wasn't possible. It's the first time where it's really going to be on the ballot and going to be a motivating factor for people to come out and vote on the other side of the issue.
Yeah, and we still have, you know, is it going to stay in the states or is it going to be codified nationwide? So it's still an open issue.
It's huge.
In some aspects.
It's huge.
All right. Cynthia, thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Phil.
Battleground is out in theaters now.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.